Hey there, so today we're going to talk about the Skytale Cipher. It's spelled Skytale, and I've been pronouncing it Skytale for the last 2 weeks. Before I looked it up, it felt really dumb. The Skytale Cipher is very simple. Essentially, you have a long strand of paper, or whatever material you want, but paper works the best, with a bunch of letters written on it. And then when your player, or whomever does this, finds a specific item, in this case it's a pencil, and wraps it around the pencil, it spells out a message. If you actually check out the other video I just released on YouTube, it's a quick 1-minute tutorial about how to make one of these. It's pretty self-explanatory, but this helps you out in just a quick breakdown. So if you've already figured out everything you want here, head over to that video and check it out. Otherwise, stay tuned for some of the purposes and reasonings behind why you would use a Skytale cipher. So the Skytale is a type of transposition cipher, which basically means you're just shifting the alphabet around. So it can be cracked. The odds of it being cracked aren't super high until they find a specific thing that they can spool it around. So it does work really well. Maybe you give it to them in the very beginning of an adventure, and around step 5 or 6 or a further stop away, they're able to get what they need and they're instructed. This kind of brings it to the next step. This isn't something where you can just give your player a Skytale cipher and give them the thing that it wraps around and expect them to know what to do. So you're going to need to have a little bit more information. This thing is less of a puzzle that they figure out or decode and more of just steps that they follow. So keep that in mind when you're building this thing, that this isn't something where you want to expect them just to know what it is, because odds are most people don't know what a Skytale cipher is. So when you give them this thing, you might want to tell them with instruction, you're going to need to find something that you wrap this around to find the message. But keep in mind, the difference between a number 2 pencil and a marker isn't extreme, so you do run the risk of them being able to brute force this thing. So be very aware that when you give them this, they might be able to figure it out. So keep that in mind. So there's plenty of objects you can use to wrap a Skytale cipher around. I think the easiest step 1 is just a regular pencil, because everybody has them. Another thing you could do if you want to be cheeky, you could use a toilet paper roll, since that's kind of a big thing right now during the pandemic. You could use something like a ruler. That gives a little bit more of a flat surface if you want to write multiple messages. Finally, you could give them a cryptex if you want to get really fancy, where the Skytale cipher wraps around the cryptex, shows what the riddle is, they solve the riddle, and the password ends up being the answer that opens up the cryptex to get the key inside. There's really lots of different options. Even if you wanted to use a finger or anything like that, anything that you can wrap this piece of paper around can make it work. Once again, this is a transposition cipher, so it could potentially be cracked by somebody that was really dedicated. So you might not want to give this to them on a really long timeline, but if it's in a day or within a couple hours, you're probably pretty safe. You also have to know the player you're doing this for. If you're doing it for somebody that isn't seeing this coming at all and isn't super into puzzles and ciphers and things, this is a really simple, really easy, really cool experience. But you want to make sure you spell it out for them where they know what they have to do, because the last thing you want is for them to have the cipher, have the thing they need to wrap it around, and just not realize that that's what they need to do, because they have no reason to expect to need to do that, right? If they haven't been told they need to do that, it's a really weird idea of wrapping a sheet of paper around something. So please keep that in mind. One of my big rules is I would rather have these things be a little bit easier for your player and everything goes smoothly than them just sitting in a bar somewhere with everything they need but just have no idea what to do, because that's a really crummy experience, and the goal of these is to make it really fun. So there you have it. It's really simple. Like I said before, if you check my other video, there's a quick tutorial on how to make it. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I try to release these videos with little quick hits on how to create something and then further explanations on best practices and ways to build these things. If you really like this, you can always become a patron. It helps me out, and sometimes there's some extra goodies and some live Q&As that I do. Otherwise, I would love to hear if you have something you'd want me to focus on or talk about next. You can always leave it in the comments, and I'd be happy to get to it. Thank you so much, and happy adventuring.